let's turn our attention to the world of film now, and joining us regular here, contributor to Talk Film on Talk Sport, Amon Warmann. Very good morning to you, Amon. How are you doing?
I am good, sir. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, Pod. Thank you. Very well indeed. I want to start off this morning with a film which I know you saw a couple of weeks ago, and you almost covered off and then ran out of time. Well, now we get a chance to, because it's Idris Elba's debut directorial performance with the new film Yardie. I heard him interviewed the other day, and I have to say, after the trailers didn't catch my attention hugely, but after hearing him talk with such passion about the film, I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid directorial debut, I'd say. Called Yardie. It's set in 1983. It focuses on a young Jamaican gangster played by Amon, who we saw in Kidulthood a while back. He's been sent to London to smuggle cocaine, but after that deal goes south, he tries to strike out on his own, and he also gets the chance to avenge the murder of his brother that has haunted him for years and forms the spine of the movie. I think the best thing the film has going for it is that it's very stylish. It gives you a great feel not only for the Jamaican culture, but the multicultural London. In addition to being an actor, Elba is also a DJ, and there's a couple of sequences with MCs when the film really comes alive. Those are the film's best scenes by far. The performances are also really, really strong, and they keep the film watchable. Amon, you mentioned, is very likable in the lead role. Stephen Graham, though, is probably the most entertaining. He plays a local drug kingpin called Rico, and he is having the time of his life in that role. It's a very enjoyable performance. Newcomer Chantal Jackson is also very impressive in what could have been a thankless role as the sort of love interest for Amon's character, Dennis. And that's all enough to offset the plot, which is a little bit muddled and also a little bit predictable, especially in the third act. But I enjoyed this one. I think it's a solid 3-star movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else Elba does behind the camera.
In terms of the overall, does he manage to capture the aesthetic, the era that it's based in? I think it's a little easier to do period when you're doing, say, the 80s, etc. There's still plenty of artifacts in air quotes around, but does it feel authentic? Does it feel genuine to the time and the London setting?
Absolutely, it feels authentic. I think Elba nailed that's one of the things Elba really nailed with this movie, especially when the action moves to London. He really gets a lot of things like that. So
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. It might be solid, but we'll give it a go. Let's also talk about Searching. Now, my wife is currently out in Thailand, in Southeast Asia, and actually managed to see this before it's even out here, because it's already out in cinemas there.
Ooh.
And she loved it. She was a really big fan. We saw, was it Unfriended, the not the
right.
recent sequel, but the first one when it came out, which was this same idea of the whole film was all presented on a laptop or a computer screen, and you were seeing essentially the screenshot from the screen for the entire film. Is it quite that? Is it as prescriptive as that, or is it a film that uses that element and mixes it in with more traditional elements?
No, it all takes place within computer screens, and that is a gimmick that can easily prove distracting, but it's very, very inventive. I love this film. Your wife has an excellent taste. Because this is one of my favorite films of the year. I think it's absolutely phenomenal in many respects. So it's a first-time filmmaker, Anish Chaganty, and the film centers on widowed father David, who's played by John Cho, an actor who I really like. He's on a search to find his missing daughter Margot, played by Michelle La. And again, the trick here is that the search takes place through the internet and through the social media channels and everything like that. The entire film has a laptop camera POV. But yeah, I really, really, really like this movie. It's very inventive in the way that it employs the gimmick. It makes you really realize how much of our lives we spend on our computers and devices, and how that evolves over time. There's actually a brilliant montage at the start of the movie, which will remind you of Up in more ways than one. It actually features a Windows 98 computer. And for people like you and me, we understand sort of what that means, I think. That familiar sound when the computer goes on, that Windows 98, which definitely brought back a bit of some memories for me. So that was good. John Cho has been doing good work for a while now. In addition to the iconic Harold and Kumar films, he's also been Sulu in the recent Star Trek movies, among other things. He's getting a lot of buzz for his performance here, which is very deserved. He is excellent. The way in which he slowly but surely starts to freak out as what's happened to his daughter dawns on him, and he begins to realize he may not have known his daughter as well as he thought he did, very well played out. And there are a few sequences here which are really gut-wrenching. If you're a parent, it'll be especially gut-wrenching for you to watch a couple of sequences in this movie. This is a parent's worst nightmare, but it's really, really well played out. And all of this wouldn't matter as much if the story wasn't so clever, but for me, it really, really worked. It constantly kept me guessing. Every time I thought I knew what was going on, I didn't, and it really ties up things very nicely in the end. And then finally, one of the things I wanted to mention I think is really important. This film just presents an Asian American family like it's normal. Their racial identity is never brought up. It's just there. I think that's something we need more of in both big and small screens. And it really, I noticed it from the get, and it really made an impact. I think it will make an impact on many other audiences as well.
I'm glad you gave John Cho some love, and because I am a big fan as well. And it's great that it's getting such a positive response, because it does feel like the Unfriended films are... it's a nice little gimmick, but it's not something necessarily that could be something that gets wider reaching. And so if this is something that does something different with the genre, still within that thriller area maybe, but that's what was so joyous as well about the trailer for this. They could have given so much away, and obviously I don't know what happens yet because I've not seen it yet, but it gave me enough to intrigue me without giving me the whole plot. And the number of times I've seen a trailer recently and gone, well, I almost don't need to see the film now.
That's good. I mean, I actually went into this one completely cold. I know that it had got some good buzz. I think it played at Sundance Film Festival earlier this year, where it won a couple of awards. But I hadn't seen any footage whatsoever on it. So I went into it completely cold, and I think that enhanced my viewing experience of it. It really, really impressed me. And I can't recommend it enough. I hope people go out and see this one in droves.
Anything else? What have you got coming up this week that you're going to get out and see?
I am seeing Crazy Rich Asians, which I am very, very excited for.
It's been an absolute cultural phenomena in America.
Yep. I mean, it's really interesting. Between that and something like, Black Panther earlier this year, it's been a big year for sort of diversity and representation in cinema. I actually got to speak to John Cho earlier this week. The interview will be up on Den Geek very soon. And we were talking about sort of how tracking data, this year backs it up especially. Tracking data doesn't really account for minorities as much as white folk, because I remember the projections coming in for Black Panther before the film came out, and they were sort of 100, 120 million, very on the low side. I mean, I think it debuted for something like 200 million. And I remember saying at the time, those estimates are way low. And they look at something like Crazy Rich Asians, and, the numbers come in and everyone's surprised. It wasn't really, I mean, when you factor in the hype and everyone's excitement to see something which you very, very rarely see, which is, a wide release Asian American rom-com, a wide release black superhero movie on, a big Marvel scale. It's not that surprising in some respects that, people, black people, Asian people, others, who don't, I guess, normally come to the cinema. I know for me, I think I spoke to you about this at the time, but my mum saw Black Panther more than I did at the cinema. My mum never goes to the cinema. She saw Black Panther about 6 times. That sort of thing doesn't happen often, because we don't get films like this very often. So I'm very excited to see Crazy Rich Asians. I'm also seeing King of Thieves, the Michael Caine heist movie later on this week as well.
Brilliant stuff, Amon. Really appreciate your time. Amon Warmann joining us here on Talk Sport Extra Time. Still to come this morning, we'll look at the front and back pages. Angus Scott being